Howdy, homesteaders. I have had a couple of requests to video some more rock splitting, and specifically in regards to that beast of a rock right there that I kind of showed in the previous video. That thing is as big as my truck, and yeah, the trench right now that I'm digging around it is probably about 3.5, 4 feet deep. It's just a giant potato of a rock, and so this is going to be not a single day project. This is going to be something where I'm going to be picking at it probably for a couple weeks. My intent is to dig this trench around it today and then maybe drill a couple of the holes. I might be able to split off one end or the other, but my thought with this thing is that I'm going to need to kind of slice it like a giant potato. I'm going to pop off the end, probably pop off both ends, and then do lateral slices right across it so that those will then tip over and I can split those in order to get them out. My little tractor is not going to get all that stuff out, but that's the plan. We'll see how it works. It'll probably evolve as I'm doing it, as I figure out what the rock's doing, and yeah, so enjoy the journey. So along with digging around the trench, there was a lesson I learned on a previous rock that we did last weekend. This rock here, not the one in the background, but this one right here in the front, I put, I believe, 8 feather and wedge sets in, and we proceeded to start to split it and discovered there was actually a crack in the rock already, that as we were pounding those feather wedges in, a plate of rock actually sheared off, and that's just half of it, because it actually broke in half. The other half's over behind it. But so it ended up shearing off, and I had to re-drill some holes, and one of the feather wedge sets was kind of stuck, so I kind of had to drill right next to the existing hole and split it on that fault. So yeah, it was kind of a pain, and it was mainly because I didn't know to really look for existing faults in the rock. And so applying that knowledge to the big rock I'm working on, I used the leaf rake and got a lot of the residual dirt off the top, just to find stuff that was kind of resting on top, and then took the time to sweep the rock so I can get a better look at the rock's surface itself. And you can kind of see right there, there's a crack, and that is actually an existing fault in the rock. And moving around to the side, there is several, I don't know, I guess they'd be called stratum. I don't know. Anyways, so there's a crack right there, or at least a weak point. And then it looked like there was another one down there. So it's not going to be as easy as just slicing off a big old chunk of potato. I'm going to need to actually take those faults into consideration when I'm splitting things. It might actually make it easier because it's an existing fault and I can take advantage of it, and maybe it'll split better. But I don't know. I think that's going to take some experimentation, and we'll see how that turns out. Rather than doing individual slices up and down, because I was thinking of doing like every 20-ish inches, just going up and over the other side, and just drill, and then slicing off a big flat chunk that would then fall over, and I could split it up into different pieces. Right now, with these existing faults, I'm thinking that it's going to end up, I have to start at the other end and kind of cut off a chunk, let it fall off, and then cut off another chunk and let it fall off. But eventually it's going to start climbing this crack to where as I get up here, I'll cut off a chunk and it's only going to break off to here and fall over. And then eventually I'll have to come back and start slicing that bottom triangle. But I'm new to this. Literally, my only experience is watching some videos and then doing that rock splitting last weekend where I split those other rocks. So, and those were significantly smaller, but I kind of feel like I learned a lot, reinforced what the videos were saying, and so yeah, it's time to start drilling. A couple things that we learned last week while we were cracking those smaller rocks. One is, it's good to have a small set of little needle nose pliers, because when you crack the rock, the feather wedges sometimes will slip down further in there and you can't finger them out of there, so you gotta reach down and get in there. So there's that. Feather wedges up in there. Still got my masonry hammer. My 3/4 inch masonry bit. I don't know if you can see it on there, but that side's the good side. That side actually, while we were drilling one of the holes, it kind of angled just a little bit. It skipped and angled, and the little carbide tip popped off on that one side. So I'm going to try it and see if it's still doing its job. It could just be a sacrificial bit if nothing else. This one's already set up, so I've still got the one good one, and we will see. Have it aligned on the crack. All right, so I have to admit to a little bit of frustration. For as easy as last weekend went, where we split those rocks that were like 3-4 feet in diameter or 2 feet across and 5 feet long, even with the problem solving, we got the job done. And today I'm running into some issues with this rock, and I don't know if it's a function of the type of rock or something that I'm doing. And I think I may have to go back and do some more research. Or there was a cool masonry rock forum that I stumbled across. I may have to go post a question on there. But what I'm running into is I took the time to drill the holes, which were showed earlier, and then started doing the passes along with the hammer, and all I'm getting is this sloughing, spalling effect. And the biggest piece I got was that one right here, which really isn't that big. I was able to pick that up and just hoist it out of the trench. And so I almost lost one of my feather wedge sets because it almost got wedged in there in such a way that I would have had to like drill it in order to get it out, and so that would have sucked. Anyways, so I'm gonna go ahead and share this, not because hey look what I did, but hey look what I didn't did. It's kind of one of those learn from what I did, and in this case I'm thinking it's just a function of the rock. I think just all this spalling and everything is just what the rock is going to do regardless of how much I drill it and stuff like that. And so my original idea of getting functional blocks out of this by splitting it kind of laterally and then letting that big round chunk of potato fall off and then splitting those into blocks, I don't think that's going to work. And simply because it seems to be sloughing off, which then brings me back to I do need to move. I want to move the rock because I don't want to have to move my septic field, but it's not really encroaching on the, let's get out of the hole here, it's not really encroaching on the main septic field. It'll just encroach on the reserve one, and I can adjust that down the road. If I need to build a reserve, I can shorten a couple runs and lengthen the other ones, kind of do it as built, and then push the main field that way just even 5 feet, and then I wouldn't have to do anything with this rock other than it does stick above the level of the ground. This whole area is going to come up about 20 inches because there's a pretty big slope. No, not big slope, but there's a slope from up there down here and past me off in that direction. And it's going to be, in the long run, it's going to be level-ish within probably 6 inches from one end to the other. And that rock right there, the top of it will probably stick out about 6 or 8 inches. And unfortunately, not in such a way that it makes it an interesting rock feature, it just makes it in the way. So, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to ponder on this and then I may come back to it. But that is the experience on this one. I'm going to go ahead and post this and let you see what my controlled failure looks like, and then move forward with some other projects I've got going and kind of contemplate how I want to approach this. I think I'm pretty sure I could probably break it up, just keep drilling, keep spalling, keep breaking, and then just break it up into smaller, but it would never be usable, and it's going to be a lot of drilling. And one thing I've learned is that I've had to do a lot of, here I'll drill 2 or 3 holes and then I put the drill down and I go do something else. I need to let the bit cool down, I need to let the drill cool down, and in order to keep going. I don't want to burn either one of those out because the drill is borrowed from a friend and the bits are not cheap. So anyways, I am gonna shut this down for today and ponder what I want to do with it. And so perhaps the next video will be of what my solution is, or hey look, I buried the rock. But anyways, that being said, homesteader out.